Yo, and welcome back to the Banter Boys podcast. My name is Sanji. With me is Andrew. How are you doing, boy?
Hey, man. How are you? Can't believe we finally meet.
I know. I am doing well. I'm just happy that you actually have a tash, That is what is the most fitting part about it.
Yeah. I needed to have one. I actually just took draft tash, just comes from my team name of Willie Miller's tash. So, that was just when I had tried to think up something for Twitter. So, and that was the best I could come up with. So.
Let me just also appreciate the fact that correct me if I'm wrong, is that a River Plate jersey?
It is, yes. It's part of my retro gear that I used to wear when I used to play five-a-side, so...
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, go ahead. What's the story behind it?
Oh, no, it's just literally, we used to, every Thursday night, that was five-a-side night until I broke my ankle twice and I've broke my elbow once playing five-a-sides with my mates. So I had to give it up after a wee while. So I've not played in about 2 years now, so...
Oh, shit. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your injuries.
Okay.
Was it you that kind of made the call, or was it loved ones was like, Andrew, just fucking stop, man.
Yeah.
Enough is enough.
It was definitely a bit of both, but yeah, when you're having to get up early in the next morning and your legs just physically can't carry you, it's time to call it a day. So
fair enough. All right. I mean, listen, I am so over the moon excited to introduce our fan this episode, right? So let's get started with the fan introduction segment. Tell us your name, your famous Twitter handle, the club that you're representing today, and where you're from. What do you do? A little bit about yourself.
Cool. Right, so my name is Andrew Kozłowski, or Kozlowski, depends how you want to say it. It's not really a typical Scottish surname. I do have some Polish heritage. My granddad came over after the Second World War and all that. And my Twitter handle is @DraftTash. Long time listener to the Banter Boys podcast, obviously, and I like to contribute with a question or two. So obviously the club that I'm here to chat about is the world famous, everyone's favourite team, Manchester United. I can tell all your listeners and even you, Sanjay, are super excited about this. I'm more of an Aberdeen fan, to be honest, but I've been following Man United since 1986 when Sir Alex left us and went down south. And just in case anyone's wondering how bad it is after Sir Alex leaves, we've not won a league title since 1985. So, yeah, it was a long time ago.
Well, I mean, he did set the trend, right? Left Manchester United. It's not like it's been a happy coming around there either, right?
Oh, man, it's been tough. It's been tough, but things are looking brighter. So we'll wait and see.
So yeah, where are you from? What do you do?
Okay, so I currently live in Edinburgh. I've been down here for far too long now, I think. I'm originally from a small fishing village up in the northeast on the Murrayfirth coast called Buckie. Their claim to fame is the famous Buckie Thistle football team, who are actually Stephen King's favourite football team. You can Google that. So Stephen King, the author, is a massive Buckie Thistle fan, apparently. But yeah, so Buckie is just like a small fishing village right up in the northeast coast. Moved to Aberdeen when I was about 18, 19, and then it's just been moving away further and further ever since.
So wait, that cover photo on your Twitter account, is that a picture of where you're from then?
Yeah, that's like a little harbour down in a place called Findocti, or Finechty as we would call it. And it's just that's just a small kind of little, kind of like another little fishing village, but it's a tiny little village, one of those that if you were to drive by and you blinked, you would miss it sort of thing. But it was...
oh man, don't downplay that like that. It looks absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, it was.
And I feel like it's one of those, small towns that has, it might be small, but big in presence, big in culture, surely, right?
It's got a lot of everything going on sometimes. So part of me... It's it's just a small fishing village, but there's bars everywhere. I think there's more bars than there is anything else. So they like a drink up there. So
Oh, love it. Absolutely love it. All right. So, listeners, how we've been doing this series, the breakdown of everything is basically general discussion. We'll talk about manager ownership, which, it's pretty relevant in this case, right? With Ten Hag coming into play. We'll talk about previous season performance, new expectations, old assets, new assets, expected formation, starting 11, 5 subs, fucking World Cup. Then we'll talk about draft, Andrew's first pick, his next 3 picks, maybe at least one hidden gem. He might have more. You never know, right? And then we'll talk to Tash about his trading methods, secret sauce, how does he get those 2-for-1 trades done? So, Andrew, without further ado, I did not make that rhyme on purpose, obviously. Let's get started. So, impact of new manager, because I guess your ownership is still intact. But, can we just quickly touch on ownership, the Glazers and all that? And it's been a big, a big heated debate. There have been protests, fans breaking into the stadium. We saw all of that. Games postponed. Quick thoughts about the Glazers?
I guess... do you really want to give them much thought? They are, they're basically just hemorrhaging money out of our club on a yearly basis just now, and they're not exactly putting any money in. They're not investing anything. They seem to just be putting it all into their Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which seems to be their biggest priority. But yeah, to be honest, I'm not going to claim that I know absolutely everything about the insides of the club, especially like the ownership and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's clear for everyone that they're not wanted at Man United, and the best thing would be for them to go. But who's going to pay that amount of money for a team that aren't exactly performing on all the high levels, regardless of how big they are? So,
absolutely. All right. Well, you know what? Let's move on to a happier topic. Erik ten Hag, right? New manager coming from Ajax with big reputation, right? Won quite a few trophies out there as well. Are you happy with the new appointment, given how last season went?
Yeah, we'll cover that later. But yeah, no, Ten Hag definitely. I'm excited. I just think the way that he had Ajax playing was, they were like a breath of fresh air, especially when you saw them in the Champions League. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's definitely excitement, and there's definitely going to be a change in style. I think ideally he would like to play a 4-3-3 if he can get all the players in that he wants. But I think it's more likely that we'll probably go with a 4-2-3-1, and then obviously your 2 wide players will make it a 4-3-3 when you're in possession. But just from watching, I've seen the highlights of the 2 pre-season games. We weren't exactly playing against strong opposition. A couple of weak teams in Liverpool and Melbourne Victory. Sorry, I meant to say a weakened Liverpool team. Sorry, that was just a slip of the tongue.
Of course. But I'll accept that banter. Ross doesn't hear enough of it from me as is.
Well,
yeah, go on.
But yeah, I think, obviously friendlies, pre-season friendlies, we were playing against like a third string Liverpool side, but I think it was quite good just to see the way that he set them up and the way that he's got them, lots of movement off the ball, which was something that we didn't really see a lot of last season. Whether or not, were they aggressive enough last season? Like, you don't really, it's hard to tell. We've lost some good players, but we still have a squad of good young talent in there, and obviously we've still got Harry Maguire. So it's swings and roundabouts, really, isn't it? So.
You talk about young talent. James Garner, right? I believe he was on loan last season. Is he back in the fold now this season? Like, are you expecting him to make an impact?
I don't know. I honestly think just because of the way that the season's starting, and there's going to be about 4 league games before the transfer window closes, and obviously Europe's going to start as well. So I think, depending on the players that he gets in, whether or not these young guys will make the breakthrough this season, or if they'll go out on loan, maybe to a Premier League club. I dare say Nottingham Forest would jump at taking James Garner back again. But yeah, it's all going to come down to what players he can get in over the next kind of like 3-4 weeks, really.
All right. So shall we move on to the next part, which is the club performance? Or do you have anything else you want to add?
I do think that just looking at Ten Hag's team, I think we're going to see a Man United that actually presses, which is something that we never really saw much of, and we were all dying to, well, all Man United fans were dying to see it last season. Whether or not the GOAT stays, that, who knows? But I personally don't think he will. But I think Ten Hag's obviously made a plan if he does, but I think it's highly unlikely. So,
yeah, fair. I mean, well, now that we've kind of talked about Ronaldo, we can talk a little bit about previous season performance, right? Not one for the Bucks, that's for sure. It had very like black and white sort of moments, Ronaldo showing like coming back home, right? It was such a heartwarming moment for all the fans, reminiscing that shirt sales going through the roof, yada yada yada. Him scoring hat tricks, like as any GOAT does, right? But we also saw him lose his cool, walking off the pitch at, I think it was Everton. He slapped some kid's phone out their hand. We saw the dark side as well, right? Ralph Ragnick, so persistent with his 4-2-2-2-2-2-2. It goes on and on. He tried a pressing system. It wasn't that good, right? Anything else you want to kind of add maybe from the previous season's performance?
No, I think the first 4 weeks were good. I think a lot of people kind of focus on with Ronaldo coming in that, the system did change. I think it was actually Ronaldo coming in was probably Solskjaer's downfall, in all fairness.
Yeah.
He didn't really know how to manage him, and then I think all the other egos kind of came out, leaked stories everywhere. It was getting a bit ridiculous. So Ollie obviously had to go. And then Rangnick, when he came in with such a high kind of, he came in with a lot of experience, and you had Klopp saying about how he was going to make Man United a really good team and all this kind of stuff, but it just didn't materialise. And whether that was the players or whether that was him or whether it was just the club, it was just. You just want to forget about last season and just move on to the highs of this season.
Yeah. There's something very interesting that I can see in the notes that you've prepped for the pod. Only 3 players made the top 100 in Fantrax. That's crazy. Yeah. Absolutely mental.
It's really good. And when you think as well, the 4th highest player was then David De Gea.
Wow.
So, in fact, De Gea was I think De Gea was the 3rd. Yeah, it was Bruno then. Bruno was 10th, Ronaldo was 27th, and De Gea was 88th. And then you were down into Sancho, who was 114th overall. So,
madness.
Yeah. So, and Sancho had a poor season, and he was like the 4th best player in the squad, and for Fantrax purposes, obviously.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
That is crazy. Yeah, wild. Okay, let's talk about new season expectations. What are you expecting? At least a top 4? At least a trophy? Where we at?
I think we have to be realistic. I think as long as he gets us into the Champions League the following season, whether that be top 4, whether that be through the Europa League, or whether that be from UEFA, making up some other backdoor kind of shenanigans to let people like the big teams in. I'll happily take it if we end up 5th or 6th and UEFA seem to give us a place in the Champions League. It wouldn't be right, but damn it, I'd take it. Of course I would. So I think let's be reasonable. I would love us to make the top 4, and I think we could. I actually think your guys will be the ones that will probably struggle, but that's probably a different podcast.
You know what? I would agree with that. I have no idea what the fuck to expect from Chelsea next season. Honestly, it's a very unsettled backline. Yeah, Lukaku drama to throw in. I don't know. I don't even know. Honestly, I think I have the same sort of thing as let's just make top 4 and hope that Tuchel figures it out. Like, he won us the Champions League. We won Club World Cup, all that sort of stuff. Sure, but yeah, I don't know what to really make of it. Honestly, I recorded the Chelsea pod a few days ago. I still have to release that one. I had a very interesting discussion with a kid much younger than me, but he had some good takes on the club and all that. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Now we can kind of move on to the old assets, new assets.
Yeah, cool.
All right, brilliant. So I kind of did look back at as far back as, let's say, January 2022 window, right? You guys didn't really have any ins, but you had some outs, right? The likes of, let's say, Martial going to Sevilla on loan, Donny van de Beek going to Everton on loan. How did you feel about those moves?
I think at the time nobody really cared. I was like, Martial hasn't really done it, and Van de Beek, the guy just looks lost. He looked lost when he was at Everton. He didn't. It was an absolute waste of a loan move. He would have been as well just sitting on Man United's bench. But even I don't know. I don't know what to make of Van de Beek. He's the kind of player that you would think Ten Hag would use quite a lot, but then I just can't see where he's going to get into the team. He's not going to get in ahead of Bruno, and he's not going to get in ahead of Erickson. So
yeah, it's like Drinkwater coming to Chelsea. Like you're killing your career basically by doing that. What's crazy is Martial is like putting in the goals now in preseason, and everyone's talking like, oh my god, is Martial an asset again? Like, it happened a few seasons ago, I think, and everyone fell for that trap. Like, is it another trap?
Well, no. Well, we all fell for it, and when we came back after the lockdown, when we had that half season after lockdown, Martial was amazing, so we all fell for it then. But I mean, he's, they have the cheek to call Pereira the pre-season Pirlo, but Martial's definitely like he's like he's pre-season Puskas, you know what I mean? He's always phenomenal when it comes to pre-season. So, I don't know. I still, I've not made my mind up on Anthony Martial yet, so we'll wait and see. So,
all right, let's talk about the most recent outs then before we get to the ins. Quick thoughts about these. I'm not gonna go through the entire list, but just names that are relevant to the average football fan. Let's say Edison Cavani. Thoughts about that?
It didn't really work. So
yeah,
thanks, Eddie. See you later.
Juan Mata.
I always really liked Mata. He was kind of wasted. He didn't really fit into anything that we kind of had to do. But every time he played, he was just amazing. So it's gutted that he's left. But he wasn't really doing anything for the last 3 years, I think. So yeah,
fair enough.
Off the wage book, really. So
yeah, true. The famous Paul Pogba. That one hurts a little bit, surely.
I thought Pogba was, is world class, because he is world class. He just doesn't. He just didn't do it for Man United enough.
Yeah.
I think when you talk about the money we spent on him, the amount of wages he was on, and apart from that game at the Etihad under Mourinho when we came back and beat them 3-2, then I can't really remember another time in a Man United shirt when you went, wow, Paul Pogba's amazing, So you see it playing for France all the time. He's amazing for France, but he had little glimpses, little touches, scored the odd goal, but yeah, I mean, gutted that he's left, but at the same time, off the wage bill, see you later, enjoy Juventus. So
yeah, fair enough. What about Messi Lingard?
Mr. Backpack. Again, it's another one that I felt sorry for Jesse last season because Ole obviously told him that he was in his plans and he just never played him. He should have let him go then. We've just let him go for free. I don't know. It's tough. He's a kind of player that he's infuriating. But then he goes away and plays for West Ham, and he was so free and he was so good. And then he's came back, and maybe he never got the chance. But again, I don't think he'll be any miss. In all fairness, So
fair enough. What about Nemanja Matic? He kind of popped up last season with some big Fantrax scores randomly.
Yeah, and again, that's just the problem, just randomly. Yeah. We never got the Matic that played for Chelsea. We got a much older Matic, so and he didn't have the legs. You could tell that the mind was still there, and you know what, he'll go into Roma and just knock out the park in the Italian league because you'll get time on the ball and you'll be able to do stuff. So I think he'll do well out there. So.
Very true. And finally, Andreas Pereira, the new, I want to say, number 10 for Fulham.
Yeah, a cheeky. I I think I'd definitely draft him in the later rounds for Fulham anyway. But he never did it for Man United. Pre-season Pirlo, that's what they call him. So and he doesn't score free kicks anywhere near enough to even be. He probably never got a chance at Man United. But I was quite surprised he never ended up at Flamengo. But I think they had more financial issues than they were letting on. So, but yeah, it's good that he's still in the Premier League for obviously Fantrax purposes. It's just whether or not Fulham are the kind of team that are going to get loads of points. So.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's talk about those ins now. Let's kick things off with the big name, Christian Eriksen. My first question is, why?
Why not? I mean, to be honest, he's kind of in there as that replacement for Pogba. You know, I mean, we've lost Pogba on a free, so Eriksen's kind of came in. I think a lot of people will be sceptical whether Bruno and Eriksen can play together. I'll cover that later, but I think they will. I can't understand why Eriksen would come if he wasn't guaranteed game time. Ten Hag doesn't seem to be like Ollie. I don't think he's going to promise players stuff and then not give them it. So, so I mean, he's a baller. You know, we all know what he can do. You know, I mean, look what he did for Brentford last season. He might not be the main guy, but all the good teams have 2, 3, 4 main guys, if you know what I mean. So, you know what I mean? Baller.
So, like, my concern, before we move on to the other names, is, like, who takes the set pieces then, in your opinion? Like, I know Eriksen, I assume Eriksen hasn't started proper preseason training, playing games and stuff yet, right? So, do you foresee maybe Bruno losing some of his ghost point value?
That's a tough one. I think he lost quite a lot of it last season. And again, you know, people will point the finger at Ronaldo being there. But yeah, as far as set pieces, I think it'll be one of those that they'll just kind of, you know, they'll probably share the duties. You know, it'll all depend on who feels like, you know, they've got the best chance to score, or to, you know, if it's, you know, who's got the better chance to whip in a decent ball, you know. So it'll be interesting. You know, I think we've only played 2 pre-season games, so it's really tough. And like you said, Eriksen's not even out in Australia just now, so he's still over here. So he's not really been involved. But we've got a couple of big games when we come back with. I think it's Aston Villa and then Atletico Madrid. We're definitely playing Atletico Madrid quite near the start of the season. So I'd like to think that the team he kind of puts out there will probably be the team he'll start the season with, you know.
Okay. So, I don't mean to stay on this because Eriksen is such a big name. Is like, so like, had Eriksen not come into the league, and let's say we assume Ronaldo was leaving, I think Bruno for me was going in the first round, right? Because sure, United shot the bed last season, but Bruno is still, I think, second highest for key passes, which you can't ignore. Yeah. Right?
And Bruno will definitely still go in the first round. Definitely.
Yeah. So
especially 12-team leagues. Yeah.
So basically my question is, because Eriksen comes in, potentially shares some of that set piece value, whatever, does that not lower or maybe drop Bruno in your potential drafting, or like with Eriksen? Are you not concerned about that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think you're kind of getting 2 players that could very easily get, you know, 20 to 25 in a game quite easily, you know, picking up assist or a goal, especially with ghost points that they can provide. Yeah. You know, if they both play at the same time, what did they end up sharing? Kind of like 15 to 20 maybe, or maybe more 10 to 15. Yeah. It might put the value down a little bit, but it's one of those that I think, you know, obviously Man United fans will probably jump to grab the 2 of them as quickly as possible. And I think with all the games that there's going to be, especially before like the World Cup, you know, I mean, the group stages of the Champions League and the Europa is all going to be completed before the World Cup as well. Yeah. So it's going to be like a manic first half of the season that, you know, we're going to be using players constantly. And, you know, So I think there's going to be plenty of playing time for both. And like I said, I don't think Eriksen's going to go there if he's not guaranteed to be playing at least, you know, 27, 28, 29 starts, at least, you know, so. All
right. That sounds exciting. All right, let's move on to the next name. One of the more recent names as well, Lisando Martinez from Ajax. Is he a centre back? Like, what are you expecting from him? Or is he a defensive midfielder, the player that you guys have desperately needed in that Manchester United team?
He's definitely a left-sided centre back, so that'll fill that kind of problem. I think he'll go straight into the team. I think it'll be him alongside either Varane or Maguire.
Which one are you hoping for, Tash?
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the worry. But yeah, no, I think Martinez is going to be like he's going to be a starter.
Yeah.
He's not going to go and spend. God, it was almost like 57 million euros that we've ended up spending on this guy. So you're not getting him to sit on your bench, keep it warm. So I don't think I think his height bothers a lot of people. But Cannavaro was quite small. And Willie Miller, one of the best centre half stroke sweepers, was only 5'8". So it can be done. But I think he's got that South American fight about him as well, which we definitely missed that in our defence last season. We've got Bailly, who just likes to kind of like just go in for really weird tackles when he goes crunching into people. I think Martinez will probably do a bit of that as well, but I think he seems to have a bit more composure than Bailly does. So
fair enough. All right, and let's move on to the final name, Tyrell Malaysia from Feyenoord. Clearly Ten Hag loves the Eredivisie. Oh, I hope I butchered that 100%. The Dutch League.
The Dutch League.
Yeah. Do you have any comments on this player? Like, you think we've got a sure starter here?
I think Luke Shaw should be worried. I think Shaw will probably start. But if he doesn't get to that level that he was when Telles came into the squad, then I think Ten Hag will think we'll just swap them over straight away.
Yeah.
I think Ten Hag really likes this guy. There was a video doing the rounds on Twitter of a game with the Feyenoord Ajax game, and he was seen speaking to his coaching staff and asking them who that was, who's that young guy, he's really good. So, he's obviously had his eye on him for quite a while. Left back was probably not the position we really kind of needed filled, but, a good young left wing back coming into the team, it could put pressure on Shaw, and I'll probably see the end of Telles, so.
Yeah, I mean, Telles wasn't really much of a defender, let's be honest.
No, he's not.
He took like the odd good corner, and that was kind of about it. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
He scored an absolute peach in the Champions League, but that was about it as well.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, so did Zappacosta, but that's all she wrote. So.
Yeah, he was a draft legend for me. I love that guy.
So are you expecting any other new names? Like, should we be on the lookout?
Yeah, I mean, I think the list goes on and on and on. Obviously, there's Frankie de Jong.
Yeah.
It's going to be annoying, but I think Ten Hag has came out and said that he wants them to keep pushing it, even if it's the season started. So I think he's in his plans. I don't know what to make of all the stories that are coming out. To be honest, would Ten Hag really be pushing if Frankie de Jong had no plans on coming to United at all? So you've got to be thinking there's probably more to it, but until that happens, it happens. But to be honest, I think we could probably, we should really just go, right, here you go, final offer, take it or leave it. If he says no, we should just walk away. That would be the best. I think there's plenty of potential signings. There's, every single day there's a new name. I think I've heard of Denzel Dumfries coming in. Jonathan Klaus from Lens. He's a young right back. There's Sangare from PSV as well. He's that defensive midfielder that we're absolutely crying out for.
Yeah.
And Neves as well, Ruben Neves. I think the 100 million price tag they slapped on him is just a bit ambitious, but that's what you pay. That's what you play for English Premier League players. So, and then obviously there's Anthony as well from Ajax. And the last one that I've heard actually is Tony from Brentford.
Oh,
I saw
really?
that one yesterday.
Wow.
So yeah,
that would be.
I think it could.
Yeah, that would be
it'd be interesting.
Yeah, that would be a nice steal. Not gonna lie. Yeah, because I mean, he looked really, really good when Erickson was fully fit and playing all games, right, for Brentford. So
yeah,
that'd be an interesting steal.
We'll see.
Okay. Yeah,
Again, it's one of those that it all depends if Ronaldo leaves or not. So
true. Let's move on now to expected formation, starting 11. What have you got for us?
Okay, so yeah, 4-3-3. I think is what he really wants, but I think until then, he's going to use a 4-2-3-1. until he has the team that he really wants, So I reckon, obviously, it's going to be David De Gea in goals. And then, the back four. Currently, just now, I reckon it'll be Dalot and Shaw will be your right back and your left back.
Okay.
As I said, Martinez, I think slides right into that team, and then it's going to be either Maguire or Varane. I've seen some reports that Ten Hag has apparently told Maguire that he's still the captain. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I think, obviously if he is going to be the captain, you would think it would be Maguire. I think one of the things as well was that Ten Hag was a defender himself. Okay. So you never know, maybe he can get the England Maguire out of the Man United Maguire, because he seems to do okay when he plays nationally. And maybe, I thought he might have improved with Varane, but yeah, it's tough. It's a tough call. He's not exactly set the world on fire ever, in all fairness. Yeah. So we'll wait and see. As for the midfield, so like I said, probably two holding midfielders just now. Mm-hmm. Or maybe, I think they'll start off with two, but I think one of them will probably be Erickson, but obviously it'll be a mixture of either McTominay or Fred. Mm-hmm. Will be that holding kind of one, and Erickson will be allowed to roam, and Bruno obviously in the middle with him. I think what he's done as well, he likes to really compact the middle of the pitch as well to stop teams from kind of, breaking forward. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out. I reckon we'll probably have Sancho and Rashford on the left and the right, and then either Ronaldo or Anthony Martial through the middle.
Very interesting. Yeah, you know what? I was dying when I saw United say that Maguire is still captain. Like, after his, oh man, so many comedic performances, moments and all that. The thing is, though, you talk about, the English Harry Maguire. Don't they predominantly play with a back three? Do you think United would ever switch to a back three?
It's definitely a possibility. It's something that Ten Hag's rarely done, I think. I mean, even with Ajax, he played a flat back four, and it was a mixture of 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, depending on the players he had out there. So I would be surprised if he would just dramatically change it, especially at the start of the season. It might be something that they'll work towards in training, and maybe even in the second half of the season after the World Cup. It might be something he'll introduce, but I'm not confident in Maguire, but at the end of the day, it will be up to Ten Hag, and he might see something in him that the rest of us don't. Yeah, I don't know what.
Well, I mean, I never want to wish ill on players and stuff like that. Hopefully, things work out for him, right? I mean, obviously, hopefully we still finish above you guys, But yeah, let's hope that Ten Hag can turn things around for you guys, because yeah, I can only imagine as a fan, it's not a fun thing to see. All right, let's move on now quickly to the impacts of the 5 subs in the World Cup. Who are players that you're kind of worried about drafting at this point?
See, I don't know how the 5 subs things is going to work. Like I said, because there's going to be a lot of games at the start of the season with all the Champions League, Europa League for us, but so I think you'll see a lot of the 5 subs being used, especially in the first half of the season. I think your wing backs or your full backs are definitely going to be the ones that will get rotated quite a lot. And so, like I said about Shaw earlier, I think that, Shaw will probably go, about round 5 or round 6 maybe. And, I'd be quite worried on whether he would just keep his place, because I think, Malaysia would probably come on and play a lot better for a start. I mean, as far as, Bruno goes, he'll probably play most. I think, it'll be about rotation at the start of the season until Ten Hag really kind of finds his team, finds the players that he wants. Then I think there'll be a lot of swapping around. I think every player is going to be a bit of a risk before the World Cup. So, you can say that, Rashford might not play as much because, he didn't really figure much last season, and there's plenty of competition for places. But I think if a player's playing really well, then, he's going to keep him on. So it's up to every player really just to shine. I'm quite high on Rashford. I think, in that mock that I sent you guys through, I picked him out at on the 5th round. So I think he's definitely going to be a dark horse this year. So.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And World Cup, any concerns about that? You guys do definitely have a lot of big names that are going off, right?
I think we've got a lot of big names, but not necessarily going. I mean, because if you look at the back two, I mean, obviously Martinez now, Varane probably away with France, Maguire will go with England, but I don't really see Shaw getting into that squad. I think Trippier and Chilwell are much better than him. And then, McTominay, obviously, Scotland aren't going. Thanks for bringing up the World Cup. And well, Fred probably, but you're talking about like obviously Sancho, Martial, and Rashford. They all have a lot to prove. For sure. To even get in the squad firstly. So we could end up having a lot of players that have actually got a lot of free time over November and December.
Yeah,
so.
All right, good point. Yeah, and if it makes you feel any better, Trinidad is not going to the World Cup either, so.
Thanks, man. It does. It makes me feel so much better.
All right, let's move on to the fans' favorite part of the segment. Let's talk about some draft, right? Who's your first pick from Manchester United?
That's got to be Bruno, isn't it? Really, I think he's the original Bruno. I heard you on with the Newcastle fan, yeah. It was yesterday I listened to it. There's only one Bruno, and he plays in the red of Manchester. Although I do like Bruno Guimaraes. So. But yeah, Bruno will be the first pick. I think you're then looking at either Sancho, Ericsson, or Ronaldo. I have a feeling that Sancho will probably go before. I think Sancho would probably be the second one to get picked from Man United, to be honest. And then again, obviously, it depends if Ronaldo stays. But then probably Ericsson and Rashford. I think those kind of 3 to 4 players will kind of all go round about the same time. I think once one of them goes, I think managers in the leagues will probably go. We'll just keep an eye on the other ones to see where they are. They could all score quite well, or if they're like last season, they could all have absolute nightmares. So it's a bit of a risk, but that's probably the kind of 4 or 5 players that are probably going to go first in the first few rounds.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to a Rashford owner, I thought I was so clever grabbing him last season. Oh, that turned out so bad. But okay, you talked about Bruno going in the first round for you. What rounds are you kind of aiming for from the other 4 names that you mentioned? Like, let's go Sancho, Ronaldo, Ericsson, Rashford.
I think Sancho and Ronaldo and Ericsson will probably all go kind of late 2 or mostly round 3, to be honest. I don't even think Ronaldo's name will push him up even into like early stages of round 2, unless you've got a real diehard Man United fan in there. I did the whole Fab War for him last year in both my leagues, and it didn't really pay off that well. So. I'll never do that again. But yeah, I would think, you're looking about round 3 for Sancho, maybe even late round 2. And then, 3 for Ericsson and Ronaldo. I picked up Rashford, at the end of the 5th, or the start of the 5th, sorry, in the mock. And a few people have told me that was quite high, but I think that'd be a great pickup in the 5th round, especially as a second strike, as your forward too. So Rashford's going to have a big season. I can feel it.
Like, how has Rashford kind of looked in the preseason games? Because we've heard Martial's name float around just because he's scoring the goals, but are you seeing Rashford now more as a provider than a goal scorer?
No, I still think Rashford will be a goal scorer as well. I think that, just playing out on that left kind of sort of left or the right side, I think him and Sancho have been crossing over a lot. They were, especially in the Liverpool game, they were really they were swapping places all the time. And yeah, I think, Rashford, he just looks hungrier. He's saying all the right things. At the end of the day, if you take away last season, Rashford is still a talent,
100%.
And we all know what he can do, So it's just about whether or not he actually puts onto the pitch. The guy gets criticism for everything he does outside of football, but he deserves the praise for the things he does outside football, because they're amazing things that he's put his name to, and he's making changes. But at the end of the day, he is a footballer, and that's what he gets paid his wages for. So. We just kind of need to see it out in the field sometimes. So, but I've said it before, and I do think that he's going to have a great season this season.
We should probably start referring to him as Dr. Rashford, if anything, right?
Dr. Rashford, yes.
All right, let's move on to the hidden gems then. What have you got up your sleeve?
So obviously we've discussed Malaysia. I hope I'm not butchering that poor guy's name, but yeah, Malaysia. And then you've got a host of these young guys that, and again, like I mentioned earlier, it's all going to depend on who he gets in before the end of the transfer window. But you've got the young striker Palestri and Carancho as well. Not really heard much about those two. I know Palestri, I think he scored the 4th against Liverpool. But Carancho's I've not really heard much about him since the last season. But Zidane Iqbal, again, I hope I've pronounced that right, the young Iranian, he's one that Ten Hag's really been vocal about and, speaking quite highly of. Would he start the season? Probably not, but I think if he doesn't go anywhere, he'll definitely be one of the 5 subs that'll get a run out. And then it'll be up to him. But yeah, he's very highly thought of. He has been for quite a while. But I think Ten Hag coming in and seeing him just kind of appreciates the youth structure that they've got at Old Trafford. So.
All right. Sounds good. I have no idea who any of those people are, but listen, I trust Tash. So, keep an eye out on these kids.
I mean, they could just be complete and utter Hail Marys, but and like I said, they might not even be there. If when the transfer window closes, they might all be out on loan. But,
I mean,
it all depends.
I would like to throw maybe a hidden gem that I don't know. Maybe he's a hidden gem or not. Fred. The reason I say Fred is because last season if there was any bright spark of having the Ralph Rangnick era was Fred. Fred turned out to be this goal-scoring ghost machine, and I don't know, maybe Ten Hag can continue that trend. Who knows?
I'd be surprised, but you never know. He's supposed to be that dogged kind of central midfielder. He should be that kind of, he should be that Makalele, who Makalele was for Chelsea. He should be that defensive midfielder, just that absolute dog in the midfield that just, takes lumps out of everyone and just wins the ball and just always keeps it and keeps possession. But he's just far too erratic. And I think that Ten Hag will just get bored of it pretty quickly. He's a good player, but he's not consistent enough. So I think that's the biggest problem with Fred. I think old Scotty McTominay's probably got more of a chance of being in Ten Hag's good books. It doesn't exactly put itself forward much for Fantrax points, but unless we play Leeds, Scott McTominay against Leeds is, you're talking about, 47 points? Or it might even be more than that, I can't remember. But Scott McTominay against Leeds every day of the week.
All right, love it.
That's your sleeper.
Okay, let's move on to the final segment then, trading assets, right? So when you do your trades, do you look at form? Do you look at fixtures? Do you make 2-for-1 trades? How do you get your business done? And you know what? I'm going to start this section off with formally apologizing to Tash for our last season's trade. The Saka for Sarr trade. I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, but it's one of the reasons I did so well. My only disappointment is not winning the league with that trade. Yeah.
And I can't believe I rooted for you to win that league as well, mate. To be honest with you, because this, last season was my first season in the community league. I'd always just played in my home league. So, and trades in my home league are very few and far between. So, being involved in the community league, was just, it was fantastic for all sorts of things, but just seeing how other people operated and doing trades was just brilliant, So, I really enjoyed that part of it. I probably will be a bit more kind of, not so easy, if you want. I think that, at the time, Saka wasn't really playing all that well, and, I thought it was a fair swap for Sarr.
Agreed.
It just turned out that Sarr then got an injury that kept him out for about 4 months, and Saka went on to be a baller. Yeah. So, but your apologies accepted. Thanks, man. I think as well when it comes to trades, and again, I'll go back to our community league. the guys in that league, I mean, Ben, I think you spoke about Ben before, you know, he just throwing you trades, like one for four trades sometimes. And I just couldn't understand what was going on. I was just like, what's going on here? But I think, you know, I think it all just depends on kind of, you know, what you need. And, you know, who you're wanting off of someone. You know, I just always just kind of look to see, right, okay, I really want this player from them, and they've not got much defenders, so let's throw in a defender that I kind of think is going to be quite similar to them. So, but yeah, it's trades. It's still quite new to me, and I'm making my debut season in the Genie League this year as well. So I'm going to get bombarded with trades. I can just see it. So especially after this, I'll be getting McTominay traded to me for everything after this. I can see it.
Absolutely love it, man. I'm wishing you the best of luck in IGL. Honestly, like you are one of the banter boys' favorites. Like, we speak so highly of you. We're always happy. Like, you always retweet, always like our content, man. Honestly, I wish the best for you. Honestly, upcoming season. And anytime you need help, DM me. I would almost give you my home number, my cell number, my pager. You know, like I'm available anytime for you. But you know, talking about like assets and stuff, like trading for them, I saw you have some of the fixtures written down in your notes as well. Is that your starting first 4 fixtures?
Yeah, that's the first 4 fixtures of the season. Relatively easy. I can see us getting 12 points out of 12 there. Maybe not so much in game 3, but I think Brighton and Brentford, there'll be two challenges definitely, but it's 2 games that we should be winning. And if we can go into that game at Anfield with 6 points, feeling full of confidence, and then get absolutely smashed 4 or 5-0, then, you know, it'll just our season will have begun. But I think it's going to be a big game. It'll be too early in the season to kind of, you know, make anything big about it. But at the same time, you know, if we go there and we take something from it, then it'll definitely raise confidence within the squad. So it's an exciting year ahead, man.
For sure. Well, I mean, I also want to kind of bring up your final 3 fixtures of the season, right? And the reason being, I think I discussed it on a previous episode about, like, you know, prepping for playoffs, that sort of stuff. If you want to do trades, maybe look at trades for that final run. Because even your league points can be decided by then if you don't play with playoffs, right? And you guys have Wolves at home, Bournemouth away, and Fulham at home. Those are 3 really tasty fixtures. And if Ten Hag gets United's shit together and they're like firing on all cylinders, then why not try to get a United asset for like that final run of the season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's 3 on paper easy games. I mean, we obviously don't know how the season's going to pan out, but you know, you'd be looking for 9 points from there. And like you said, you know, if Ten Hag's got us, you know, hanging around about that top 4, or maybe in the top 4, or I'll whisper it, but, you know, challenging for the title. Then definitely, you know, you're going to be looking at players like Rashford, you know, Bruno, even Christian Eriksen, you know, maybe even the defence. If we actually get our shit together in the defence, then, you know, players like, you know, Martinez, Shaw, Malaysia, Dallo, hopefully we have a new right back by then. But, you know, we're definitely going to be a team that I think a lot of people are going to sleep on this season. Mostly because it seems like half the draft community all hate Man United anyway. So, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of our players will be slept on and not really kind of picked up. But yeah, I've said it so many times. I'm looking forward to this season. I think we're going to be a hell of a lot better. We can't be much worse. And I think definitely a lot of our players are going to reinvent themselves after last season's diabolical returns.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. Onwards and upwards. I could not have phrased that any better. Okay, and that's all we had planned to discuss for this episode. As always, Tash, it is always a pleasure, you know, chatting with you. Everything Fantrax related. Do you have any closing remarks, final things you want to drop for the listeners?
Just, I mean, if you're just the draft community, it's amazing. I think I've only really kind of been a proper part of it for about 3 years. Like I said, it's my second year in the Community League and my first year in the Genie League, but I think everyone that I've interacted with, including yourself and the guys from our league last season, have all just been amazing. Even just putting up that mock draft and getting so much comments from the guys as well has been brilliant. And yeah, just I think to steal Rass's line, just have fun, man. Enjoy it. It's going to be great. And we've got a World Cup in the middle, which we're not necessarily looking forward to, but football at ridiculous times of the day. It's going to be brilliant.
Love it. Okay. On that note, listeners, we will catch you on the next episode, which is probably going to be episode 100. Or this might be 100, depending on how I rig things and release it, You never know. All right. Catch you on the next one. Peace.